Hello everybody and welcome back to Stationeers. Okay, so in the last video we touched on the outpost, which is over that way somewhere. Hopefully happily just mining away, and I'm hoping we'll get some dirty ore from that soon. What we need to think about next is how we're going to process that dirty ore. Now the idea is that you'll take that dirty ore and you will run it through one of two variants of a centrifuge. We will touch on that a little bit later. Out of those two, the better one requires fuel. And we can also use fuel for other things. We can use fuel just to generate heat whenever that would be needed. You can use fuel to use in a furnace. Obviously, we don't really need that right now, but we will later, potentially. You can also use fuel for power. And long term, we will use fuel for rockets. So we're going to touch on that now. It shouldn't be too long. It's a pretty straightforward process. I'm going to show you two different ways of doing it. One is really easy, 100% beginner friendly. The other one, not so much. But let's go through the easy one first. They both start the same anyway. So I've got a locker full of stuff, and the idea is quite simple. We're going to have a source of oxygen and a source of methane, whatever you want to call that. Your oxygen can come from wherever. It can come from the atmosphere, it can come from your greenhouse, it can come from ice, it can come from ores, it doesn't matter. Get your oxygen from wherever you want to. For the purpose of what we're going to be doing here, I'm going to be using ice crushers because it's just an easy source. Later on, we can plug in other systems to this and we can pull that gas from wherever. Methane could come from volatile ice. You can also get it by processing biomass. We're not there yet. We're not doing that. So again, we'll be getting that just from the ice. Hence, we're going to be using two ice crushers for this setup. So we're going to just start with ice crushers quite simply. We're just going to stick one here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate that because it's the wrong way. Okay, and then I'm going to get both of those completed. Okay, so the idea is going to be that we can stick oxide into one, we can stick volatile ice into the other one, and then we're going to mix those gases. So if you go into your Stationpedia, you can search for anything, but if you search for fuel, you'll get methane towards the top. And this will give you some fuel combinations that you can use with methane. Obviously, if you search for oxygen, you'll be able to do the same thing for that. You'll be able to look at the different compositions. When it comes to starting with fuel for the first time, you're probably always going to mix methane and oxygen. It's just easy. It's easy to get on most worlds. Apart from Venus, that one I think is a bit more of a problem. But on all the other worlds, you're either looking at ice or the atmosphere. You can make fuel using hydrogen. It burns hotter and produces steam as a byproduct. So any hydrogen that you get, you want to try and keep because long term, it's got a pretty decent use. And we will have hydrogen as a byproduct of what we're going to be doing today. But this is the fuel that we're going to be making. So we're going to be just mixing methane and oxygen in a 2-to-1 ratio. And the idea is you have two gas systems and you use something called a gas mixer and you mix them and you basically just put a bit of each into a pipe system and then you can combust that or use it in your machinery. The mixing part is potentially easy or potentially hard, but I'll just show you both and then you use whichever you think is better. So throughout this, we are going to try and be as organized as possible. We are going to paint all of our stuff as we go, and yeah, we should be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put oxygen on the left and we're going to do a volatile on the right. Both of these need to be connected to filters because what will happen, as you know, because we've been processing some ices, when we put oxide into here, and if I just pause this for a second, if you search for oxide, you are going to get oxygen and nitrogen. We don't want nitrogen. We just don't want it in our mix. It's just extra stuff. We don't need it in there. On the other side, we've got the volatile ice. which is going to give us our methane, but we're also going to get hydrogen. We could leave the hydrogen in there, but it has better uses. If we store it elsewhere for later, we can then use that as a pure mix to produce water or better fuel. We could leave it in here and do what we need to do here, but whatever we use this fuel in, we're then going to be creating water, and we're kind of wasting the hydrogen, because then you either put additional work into dealing with that water or you just waste it. So for now, we're just going to filter out the hydrogen. So after both of these ice crushers, I'm going to put a filter. So let's put one there. Placement doesn't really matter. I just like giving everything a bit of space. And we're going to put the other one there. We're then going to get some pipes. And what I'm going to do is we're going to have a pile of white pipes and a pile of red pipes. I've actually removed most of my mods, so I don't have unlimited paint anymore. I may stay like this. It might be nice just to play like this for a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. So the ice crusher is going to take the volatile ice. Quite simply, we are going to plug into that filter. Easy peasy. And you guessed it, the other ice crusher, exactly the same. So let's just keep it tidy. Do this. And that goes into there like so. I'm going to then put an extra bit of pipe segment above each of them. Making sure I've done the same on both sides. Doesn't really matter, but just for reasons. I'm then going to just put a utility on both of these. The reason I'm doing this is because we potentially risk bottlenecking this network, because the filter can only process so much unless you really think about its efficiency. By having this, we can hold more in this system, so we could probably process an entire stack of ice before this pipe system bursts. So we're just adding a little bit of extra volume just to give us a bit more breathing space. I guess they technically are optional, but I'm just going to put them on there because we can. I have not brought enough pipes. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. So we can get that filter done, that filter done. I have some cable, which we need the screwdriver for. Very nice. And again, we're going to continue with our painting. That one's already white. So we're going to put both of our methane filters into the methane filter. We're going to put both of our O2 filters into the O2 filter. Easy. So we're going to be putting oxide into this one. And we're obviously going to be filling this pipe network with oxygen and nitrogen. What we want to do is bring the oxygen out here. The nitrogen, we're going to wrap it round and we're going to store it in this tank, because this is our nitrogen tank. Oh, that's a point. Where the hell is my atmospheric card? I'm just going to take off my suit and have a quick shit. Okay, so what we're going to do, like I said, is the nitrogen is going to go and back into that tank. I may not have enough pipes, but we'll see. This one, we're going to get hydrogen out of this pipe network. I'm going to wrap that round and I'm going to store that into a separate tank for now. I don't want to waste my nitrogen. When it comes to using that, I plan on using it as efficiently as possible. So we'll just put down another frame for now. We will put down another tank. And I couldn't really tell on the colour, but for hydrogen, I'm going to go grey. I don't know why. I just feel like that's a good choice, maybe. There we go. We're then going to get some black pipe. And as you can see here, this is our nitrogen tank. We haven't got much in there at all. We have pretty much used all of that in the greenhouse, but we will get some from this system when we process oxide. But same again, let's get that connected. Okie dokie. So this cable here is just what I've ran from my main power line. So that's what we'll be powering this entire section with. We probably need to use a transformer, which I don't have, but we'll do that shortly. Okay, anyway, we have our nitrogen coming out of this filter. And remember, this is on the unfiltered side, not the filtered side. And same with the hydrogen, that's also going to go into that grey tank. Oh, actually, grey should be CO2. I'll need a different colour for that. Okay, so then the idea here is that we will take our red and white pipes, like so. We will then get a gas mixer, and the gas mixer is going to go there. So we're going to have oxygen coming on our input 2, and we're going to have methane coming out on our input. Now, technically, this doesn't really matter which order this is. For one of the ways I'm going to show you on the mixing. For the other one, it does matter, but we'll go through that shortly. So what I need to do now is I need to add a bit of volume to both of these networks. So I'm going to get another couple of tanks. We're going to stick one tank there. And we're going to stick one tank there. Both get a paint. We're going to then have another tank right at the end here. That one is going to be our fuel. I'm just going to borrow a cable, a pipe, so I can get some orange pipe back. Let's put that back together before it becomes a problem. We're fine. And this is just going to run straight down the middle. Obviously, layout, you do whatever you want to do, but I'm going to try and make this as condensed as possible. So just to recap, we've got our ice crystal that's going to take volatile, our ice crystal that's going to take oxide. Both of those are feeding into filters. One filter is filtering out the methane, going out of this slot into the mixer. The other one filtering out the oxygen, going into the mixer. We have the byproduct of the methane filter, which is going to be hydrogen, which gets stored into a grey tank, which will be recolored to something else shortly. And the byproduct of the O2 filter is nitrogen, which is going into our nitrogen network that we already had. If you didn't want to keep the nitrogen or the hydrogen, you could just put a passive vent, but I'm going to keep both for now until we have no need of it. I'm then going to put an analyzer on the O2 line. And I'm also going to put one on the hydrogen line. The methane line. Remember, if you put the cable first and then place the analyzer, you can place the analyzer over the cable and that will still work absolutely fine. Both of those get a paint. And now we just need to get everything powered. So let me go and get a transformer, which we will put here. And then let's get that plugged in from our main power line. And let's get all of our devices connected. And then we just need to get these tanks connected to their pipe networks. Set our transformer to 5000 because why not? Turn it on, and now we should be able to power this entire section. So that all works. That works. Mixer works, analyzers work, analyzer works. Perfect. Everything has power, everything is happy, all good. So, we're going to turn the analyzers on, and they will just always be on. It just is what it is. Now, at the moment, our network hasn't got anything in it, which is good, obviously, because we haven't put anything in it yet. We need to talk about the mixer. So, if you look at fuel, so if we go to methane, we can see that we need a 2-to-1 ratio of methane versus oxygen. Okay, so that is 66.8 what, 7% methane and 33.3% of oxygen. So what you might be tempted to do is kind of just set this to 66. I mean, this can accept decimals as well, so you could do 66.7 in there if you want to. Okay, when you change the wheel, you are changing the input of input here, the input 1. You've got an input 2 at the top, that's our oxygen. Input 1 is our methane. We are changing this input. If the oxygen was there, we'd still be changing that same input. The other input just moves along with it. So that is what you'd be tempted to set your mixer to. And you would be right. That's what we're after. If you could get the same amount of volatile to come in at 66.7% and O2 to come in at 33.3%, you would have a perfect fuel mix. If your fuel mix isn't perfect, it's not the end of the world. It just won't be as efficient. It just won't burn as long. It won't burn as hot. But it's still fuel. It will still work. But your aim is to get as perfect as this as possible. The output doesn't really matter for the purpose of what we're doing. For example, say you were feeding this into a centrifuge, which we're going to be doing. This is what you would get out of the centrifuge at this temperature, roughly. If you were feeding this into a rocket, this is what the rocket would expel into the atmosphere at this temperature, roughly. But this doesn't matter. We don't care about this. We only care about this. So
Air tank low.
Let's say we've got oxygen in this tank and we've got methane in this tank, and we turn that on. You would expect that to be perfect. However, the amount of gas the mixer pulls in is determined by, and I might get this wrong, the temperature changes how much of each gas is coming in. I don't really understand how the mixer calculates it. I have got absolutely no idea. So we have a quick look. Indispensable for producing precise atmospheric ratios, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really help you. But basically, what you're seeing here, I'll try and explain this as easy as I can, and I'm sorry if it's condescending, but basically, the mixer will only output what you set if the temperature of both the gases is the same. So, if our oxygen is 20 degrees C and our methane is 20 degrees C, you will get a perfect fuel mix. If the methane or oxygen, if they are different by anything, the ratio will not be correct. They have to either be as close as possible, or you need to adjust the mixer to account for the temperature. You need the temperature. The easiest way of doing a perfect fuel mix is just to ensure whatever you are mixing is the same temperature. If you can do that, then just mix it. It'll be absolutely fine. However, obviously you want it to be. It's difficult to explain, but basically it's going to be quite hard for you to have the temperature different because there's been updates to the game recently that added these dials to the ice crushers. So you can set the temperature of what you want the gas to be processed at. Now, in theory, what I could do is 279. I'm just picking random numbers here, to be fair. As long as they're above 0, I'm not bothered. And 279. And if I put volatile in there, it should come out at roughly 279 Kelvin. So you know what? Let's get some ice, which I think I have in here. I do. I have a nice stockpile of this. Okay. Make sure your filter is on. Turn on your ice crusher. Make sure you are putting the right ice in the right ice crusher. Do not put oxide in your volatile and vice versa. So we're going to put volatile in here. And then this one, we're going to put oxide. Let's leave it at that for now. We don't need too much more. So you can see there that our oxygen is coming out at about 5.18 degrees C. All right. Our volatile, a little bit different, but it's slowly changing. Now they are not. Oh, I haven't turned the filter on. They are not the same temperature. I mean, they're very close. But if I was to mix those, chances are my ratio would be slightly off. Ever so slightly, to the point where it won't even matter. So we can see that this guy's done. And we can see there that we've gone to about 6 degrees C. We've got 5 degrees on the hydrogen. We've got 5 and we've got 5.04. So you know what? They are very, very close, and they are probably going to equalize just because of the temperature coming out of the filters, coming out of the ice crushers. So realistically, they are so close, I reckon we can probably mix those. So I'm just going to turn it on as a test, mix it, turn it off. We got a perfect fuel mix. Absolutely perfect. That's fantastic. But what happens if, for some reason, you have a different temperature? So let's go to, I don't know, let's go to 300 Kelvin. And let's put some more volatile ice in there. I'm going to do a full stack because why the hell not? So we can see there now the ice crusher is warming up. Now you don't need to worry about any of this combusting. As long as you're keeping the temperatures below 300 degrees C, nothing's going to spark. Nothing's going to be a problem here. It's absolutely fine. So we can see there, temperature of everything is going up, right? So now these two are not the same. So what I'm going to do, this is a bit wasteful, but I'm going to do it anyway, just to kind of show you, is if I remove that tank and then put it back, put the pipes back. So I haven't touched my mixer. My ratio is still 66.7. Our volatile, or sorry, our methane is now 9.76, 9.82. It's going up. Our O2 is at a comfortable 5.29. If I mix this now, take a look, you can see the ratio is off. That should be 66.7 and it should be 33.3. There's not much temperature difference between them, so we're quite close to what we want, but it's not perfect. And the warmer that this tank gets, the more off that mix is going to be. So there you go. Now we're on 66.2. So you see the problem. This is not going to create a perfect fuel mix. It's going to be pretty close, and realistically, you could probably use that if you really wanted to. But we're not here for half jobs. We're going to try and do things properly. So let me take this tank down again. I am obviously wasting this gas, but it's in the name of science, so it's fine. So let's put this back. So how do you deal with this? Well, there's two different ways, and one of them dead easy, and we're going to cover that one first because I would say that's beginner friendly. It's where I started, and I did it for a very long time. What we can do is just exchange the temperature between the two tanks. So in my locker, I have a large direct heat exchanger. Now, if you search for exchange, you'll see that you've got a super large one, small one, large one. You don't want the counterflow one in this instance. This won't do what you want it to do. But any of these other three will be absolutely fine. And they're all, well, the super and the large are produced via one kit, whereas the small one is a completely different kit. I've gone for the large one, just the middle one, which is pretty big, but this will do what we want it to do. So let's stick this somewhere. I think we'll just put it in the middle. So let me redo my cabling. Okie dokie. Everything is back on. Everything is powered. Perfectly fine. Nothing has changed. Our methane is now 18.6 and still going up, whereas our oxygen is still at 5.29. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my heat exchanger just here, right in the middle, right in the way. So let's go for, it doesn't really matter. We'll put it there. There will be fine. Let's get this built. There we go. And then all you want to do is you've got these two inputs. Now, when I was placing this, if you scroll, you have different options. There is a gas. There's also a gas liquid variant. We're obviously dealing with just gas. So we've gone for the one that is just gas and gas. I want to connect both of these to the two independent networks. It doesn't matter which one goes to which. It'll still work exactly the same. There we go. So just so you know, this is not going to mix your gases. That's not how this works. What this does is it exchanges the temperature. So the hotter gas will become cooler. The cooler gas will become warmer until they meet in the middle. Now, this is the easiest way of dealing with this problem, because it doesn't matter what temperature these gases are, as long as they are the same, the gas mixing will be perfect. So we can see here, obviously, our oxygen has gone up by about 7, almost 8 degrees. Our volatile has come down by quite a lot as well. And all you would do is you're just going to wait. You want both of these to be exactly the same, so you're not going to mix until they are. Now, if you wanted to, you could obviously automate this and code this. So you could, using either IC or the circuits, you could say, hey, if this temperature is the same as this temperature, turn the mixer on. If they're not the same, turn it off. It's easy as that. You don't have to monitor it. It will just run itself. It's absolutely fine. There's just a bit of time you're going to have to wait for the gas to meet this, meet in the middle. But you can see here, we've got 13.6, we've got 13.5. That's pretty close. That is close enough. So if we do the mixing now, turn it off, we should see that we've got, yeah, a perfect fuel mix. Okay. So even though the two come out at different temperatures, it doesn't matter, because this is going to ensure they stay the same. It just takes a little bit of time. Obviously, if you use the super large one, it would be quicker. You could also have multiple of these. You do whatever you want to do there. That's fine. The other option is a little bit more involved. Now, there is another option that you can do in which you automate this to change its ratio depending on the temperature. So it doesn't matter what the temperature is between these two, it will just do the job, because it will change the wheel after doing a calculation. Now, I don't understand the calculation, and I'm not going to pretend to understand the calculation. I don't even care to know about the calculation. There is basically a gas law thing that exists in the world, which is I think it's PV equals nRT and some other random bullshit that literally just goes way over my head. I don't care. At the end of the day, the calculation it is the calculation to be used here, and it just takes the temperature of the gases, works out what the ratio needs to be, and it works. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with it. There's people in the community who could probably talk about it for days or weeks or whatever. I'm not one of those people. I just want this to work. And yeah, I'm just never going to understand it, so I'm not even going to try. It doesn't matter. But we can create that calculation in the game using either IC or using logic circuits. As promised, we're not going to do any more IC. We are going to do this on logic circuits. Now, I am not going to explain to you what each bit is doing. What we'll do is we'll just do a bit of a follow along. So I will just basically show you what to place. It doesn't really matter where you place it, as long as you get the calculation kind of math bit correct. Honestly, don't worry if you don't understand this bit. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. I'm just glad it works. I play Stationeers for the fun of the game, not because I like maths. So I'm just going to give myself some extra space, and we're going to build this calculation. I did test to make sure I understood what I was doing in creative mode, so I've literally got some notes to the left of my screen just to kind of go through what I'm doing. But yeah, hopefully this makes sense. I'm going to need a shed ton of cable, so give me a minute. Boom. Okay, I got loads of cable. We're going to need it. Okay, so I will try and go through this as slowly as possible. It isn't too bad, like the setting up of it, but I'm not going to try and explain it to you. This is something called gas law. Feel free to Google it, whatever. Ask in the community. Let me just show you how to get something working. So you are going to need 3 logic memories, 3 logic IOs, and 4 logic processors. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need 2 logic readers. So we're going to place one there, and we're going to place one there. One of these is going to read from the oxygen analyzer. The other one is going to read from the volatile analyzer. And we're going to be reading the temperature. So I'm going to label both of these. So O2 analyzer. And then we've got CH4 analyzer. Job done. Next, you're going to place your 3 memories, and obviously place whatever you've got wherever you want. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to do it in the way that I've done it. It's fine. But yeah, 3 memories. I'm going to label one of these as 1, one of them as 2, and one of them as 100. Okay, and then you obviously need to set the pins to those numbers. So we're going to have 1, 2, and 100. Finally, you are going to get your logic processors, and you need the logic math, and you need 4 of these. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to label these. So we're going to do M1, M2, M3, and M4. Now you need to get all of that cable together. There we go. Now I've probably used more cable than I needed to, but I don't care. I've just connected everything to everything. That will be absolutely fine. We're then going to need to connect this cable to our network. Finally, with your last logic I/O, you're going to need a logic writer. This is going to be the writer that writes the value to your mixer. So let's get that cabled in as well. Okie dokie. Before we go any further, just double check that you have your mixer set up like this. Okay, your volatile should be coming in from the left. Or sorry, your methane should be coming in from the left. Your oxygen should be coming in from the top. And then the right is your fuel. If you have the oxygen and the volatile the other way around, the calculation that we're going to be doing over there is different. Not much, but it's different. So if you can get your setup like this, then you can follow along with exactly what I'm doing. So let's go through these chips one by one. And we're going to label some of these as well, because we haven't labeled the readers. So we're going to do O2 reader. We're going to call this CH4 reader. Everything else we labeled. The O2 reader, we're going to take in the O2 analyzer. And we're going to read the temperature. Turn it on, you should get a temperature reading. The CH4 reader, same thing. You're going to read from the CH4 analyzer the temperature. Turn it on, you should get the temperature. If it helps, don't forget that you can paint these. So if we get our white and red paint, this one's our oxygen, so we're going to do that as oxygen. We're going to do that one as red, which is methane. So at the moment, we have our temperatures, okay? That's the first thing you need. So the math unit, this is where the calculation is going to happen. So I will explain what each bit is doing, just the calculation, and then all we're going to do is we're going to put that onto the math units. So math unit number 1 is going to be taking the temperature of the volatile and timesing that by 2. So you take the temperature of the CH4 reader. You then take the memory, which we linked to, and we're going to multiply those. So we now get a reading of 273.44. If you go over to your reader, you've got 286.72. I'm pretty sure if you did it on a calculator, it would equal that. That is what you're doing here. You are timesing the temperature of your methane by 2. Math unit 2, we are going to take the temperature of our oxygen. So it's going to be our O2 reader. And we are going to divide that by our math unit 1. So we're doing a calculation there, and then we're using that here, taking the temperature of the oxygen, dividing it by that. And that results in a 0.499999999. Math unit 3, we are going to be taking in math unit 2. And we are going to add 1. Okay? And this is why labeling these 1, 2, and 100 helps, because you can physically see the number that you are adding. Whereas if that was just like memory 1 or something, it might not be as clear. But there you go. So M3 is just taking whatever the result of that is and adding 1 to it. Finally, our math unit 4 is going to be taking 100 and divide it by math unit 3. And that results in 66.66666667, which, if you think, does make sense. Because the temperature of both of these are the same, obviously we know that we need a 66.7% setting on the methane. So that makes sense. Finally, our logic writer, we're going to take in the math unit 4 out to the mixer. It's going to be the setting. So you can see there, that would be writing 66.666667. So if I go to the mixer now, and if I try and change this, obviously it's not doing anything, but that's because nothing is changing. It has to be triggered. But what will happen is, as temperatures or whatever change, it should adapt. It hopes. So in order to test this, let's take out the exchanger and let's warm up one of the gases. So we are no longer exchanging the temperature. So what we can do is, in this ice crusher, let's turn the temperature up a little bit more. Let's get some more volatile. Let's stick it in. And while we're here, we'll put some more oxide into this one as well, just to make sure we're keeping topped up. So what you can see now is that if I try and turn the wheel of that mixer, it is turning it back. Because the temperature is changing, the calculation over there is updating, and so it is changing the setting of the mixer. So at the moment, you can see that it's saying we need 67% of methane, 0.1 now, and only 32% of oxygen. So as the temperature of the methane increases, it's telling us that we need more of it. So the best way to test this is going to be to test it. So we can see here we've got our methane at 16.7, our oxygen at 9 degrees coming down. So for the last time today, let's take down this tank. Remove this pipe. Put the pipe back. And put the tank back. At the moment, we have no gas in there. Our methane is at 18 degrees. Probably, yep, still getting hotter. Our oxygen is at 8.5 and is still dropping. And you can see here our mixer now is telling us to put more methane in order to come out with the mix that we're after. So, fingers crossed, what should happen is we turn this on, and the input of methane, which says 67.5, should actually result in 66.7. There you go. Even though the temperatures are different, we are getting a perfect fuel mix come out of the output. And that is just the result of this calculation. So again, I'm not going to pretend to explain this to you because I don't really get it myself, and people have told me I'm just not going to worry about it. The calculation is always the same. As long as what you're after is a 2-to-1 ratio of something, this calculation, always the same. As long as the thing that you need 2 of is on input. If it was the other way around, there's a slightly different calculation, but I'm not going to go through that. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm kind of just showing you the 2 different options. You may need to ask in the Stationeers Discord, the Panic or Die Discord, or in the comments, and someone could try and help you with that. I would personally go with the exchanger as a beginner, just to get started, and then if you feel like you want to get your head wrapped around this, then by all means feel free. I normally write this on IC because it's just easier. It's just one code, and all I have to do is just load it in. It's done. I don't even think about this once it's done. But that is basically the formula. We'll go through it again just once more in case I wasn't very clear or it wasn't too obvious. So, logic reader, loading the temperature of the oxygen. Logic reader, loading the temperature of the methane. We have a memory set to 1, a memory set to 2, a memory set to 100. That's just so we can do calculations on those 3 numbers. Math unit 1, takes the temperature of the methane and multiplies it by 2. Math unit 2 takes the temperature of the oxygen, divides it by the result of math unit 1. Math unit 3 takes the result of math unit 2 and adds 1. Math unit 4 takes 100 and divides it by the result of math unit 3. Finally, we take the result of math unit 4 and we write that to the setting of the gas mixer. And that's it really. That will just work for you. One thing to note is that this setup will not correct an already wrong fuel mix. So if somehow this line is wrong, it will just stay wrong. This isn't a corrective process. This is an initial, here's your perfect fuel mix, go with it. There's other stuff you can do. You could add a kind of like a you could add like another math unit somewhere to kind of add or subtract from this, depending on how wrong this is. Some people call it a PID kind of control thing. I'm not going to get into it. That is not beginner. I'm not touching it. In all honesty, as part of the beginner playthrough, if this is your first time looking at it, don't stress over this. Just play with this. Just literally connect a pipe to this one, a pipe to this one. When those two are the right temperature, turn on the mixer. And what we can see there is, because I've connected the exchanger up, we can now see that the temperature in there, the ratio is now adjusting because the temperatures are getting closer, and so we will be able to get back to that 66.7, 33.3. That's it. That is fuel mixing. I am so sorry that this bit is as complicated as it is. That calculation, I hopefully I'll put it on the screen somewhere for you. All you need to do is basically just that calculation. You just need to recreate it in the game, either via IC or via circuits. If you want to go down that route. If you don't, just do the exchanger. It just works. All you've got is a little bit of a delay waiting for it to equalize, but it doesn't take long, especially if you use the large one. So just save yourself that bother and that power requirement if you really want to. Or do it in IC. That might be a little bit easier for you. But there we go. We now have a source of fuel. So I can turn this mixer on. Knowing that it just works, and we will always have a perfect fuel mix. What I would say is the colder you can make your fuel, the better, because it means you can store more of it. So if we look at oxygen, we want to keep oxygen within the gas portion. So any temperature above negative, say a negative 100, just to keep it rounded, will remain as gas, and you can store loads of it. If we look at methane and have a look at when that becomes a liquid, so we're looking at what, negative, let's round it, so go negative 70. So if you were to have negative 70 of both O2 and methane, you would be within the gas portion, and you would be able to store quite a significant amount of it. So we can bring both of these down to 277. There we go. So we'll always be putting the ices in and getting the same temperature out on both of them. But we've got this in place just in case something happens on this side that causes the temperature to change. Obviously, don't forget that this system relies on filters. So you're going to have to keep an eye on your filters. Again, like we've done before, you can automate these. So you could use IC if you wanted to, or circuits to read the health of the filters. And if adding them together is greater than 0, great, these can be on. Otherwise, turn these off, turn off the ice crushers. It's kind of as simple as that, really. But now we have fuel. What's the plan? Well, we need this to build up a little bit because there's not much in there. But next time we will be able to start looking at the combustion centrifuge. We can use it to process reagents that we've already got. And we can use it to process the dirty ore, which hopefully we're going to have some at our outpost. We might not have much, but we'll have some. So that's what we're going to do next time. I'm going to go and sort out some of these triangles because we seem to be collecting them. But yeah, hopefully this video helped. If it didn't, it's fine. I probably don't expect it to help, but hopefully it did. And if it did, just let me know. So until next time, take it easy, and I will see you then. Bye.